Hi folks, the Filipina here, and today I've got something new for you. It's Gracie time, but Gracie's out of Dumaguete, so we're going to talk with her via Zoom call. And I had to do a little traveling myself as well because the internet in my house kind of sucks. So I hope the quality of this video is good enough and we can start talking to Gracie. So if you're planning to come here in the Philippines, chances are you're gonna end up in some kind of relationship. Whether you plan to marry a Filipina or you're just cohabitating, you're gonna wanna watch this video because your assets are at risk if you don't take the proper steps. The good news is that Grace is here to help you understand the laws here, which are different from the West, and tell you what you can do to protect yourself. So guys, I'm going to bring in Gracie. Hi, Gracie, are you there?
Hi, P. Hi, everyone. Nice to see you again.
Hello, it's so nice to see you. I know I miss you so much. I think this is going to be a very interesting interaction with you, Gracie, because I heard that there's a divorce bill currently in the committee. They're talking about that, and also we're going to talk about the cohabitation laws. So here's my first question. Are you ready?
Go ahead, fire.
Fire in the hole, look alive. Okay, now here's something a lot of my subscribers don't consider. And in the US, a man can protect his pension from an ex-wife. He cannot protect that because it's automatically the ex-wife has a share when they get divorced for the pension. This is a pension like you get from being a policeman for 20 years, you get a pension, or you're an employee from Amazon, you get a pension. So a percentage of it will go to the ex-wife depending on how long they've been married. And what about here in the Philippines though? Can a Filipina claim part of a man's pension?
Yeah, if it is the kind of pension that you mentioned, it is an extra income of the Westerner. It's definitely going to be part of their conjugal or absolute community of property if they don't execute a prenup agreement regarding such arrangement as with respect to the pension, which entitles the Filipina spouse the right over that pension, which is equivalent to 50%.
50%. Does it matter how long they've been married? Does it have to be like 8 years, 5 years, 3 years? How about just less than a year? Is a Filipina entitled to 50% of the pension?
If you don't have a prenup agreement, of course, even the second day of your marriage, the Filipina is already entitled 50% of your properties if you don't execute an agreement. The default provision of our law is absolute community of property.
All right. So yeah, as I said before, many times me and Grace have been advising you guys, if you're going to marry here in the Philippines, you should get a prenup no matter what. But we can assure that our prenup agreements are airtight here in the Philippines and it's going to be enforced. So guys, please execute a prenuptial agreement. It's not it's not expensive. Protect yourself.
It's exactly.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about foreigners that don't want to be married to a Filipina, but they want to just cohabitate. So what are the pitfalls? What if a foreigner purchase something like a vehicle or land, and what happens if they're just cohabitating and they broke up? What would happen? How can is the Filipina entitled to those properties?
Well, the provisions in our law that governs the cohabitation of a husband and wife without the benefit of marriage is under Article 147 of the Family Code and under Article 148 of the Family Code. Under Article 147, this governs the cohabitation of those who have no legal impediment to marry let's say each one of them can remarry each other, but because they just don't want to get married, they just want to cohabit, this provision under our family code governs their property regimes. So under this provision, the provision states that their wages, salaries shall be owned by them in equal shares, and property acquired by both of them through their work or industry shall be governed by the rules on co-ownership. So in the absence of proof of the contrary, that they generated them on their own or they used their own money to acquire these properties, the presumption is they obtain it in joint effort, work or industry, and shall be owned by them in equal share. And let it be noted that the efforts consisted in the care and maintenance of the family and of the household can be considered as a contribution of the other spouse, contribution in the acquisition of this property. So again, under this provision, there is a presumption that you acquired the property in joint effort, and presumption that both of you has equal shares on the wages and salaries generated during your cohabitation. On the other hand, if there is a legal impediment, meaning let's say you're cohabiting with someone who is still married, or someone who has not acquired the proper annulment of his or her marriage, there is a legal impediment for you to remarry, then Article 148 of the Family Code governs. So under this provision, the properties acquired by the parties through their actual contribution shall belong to the co-ownership. So there is no presumption on this one. In order for one party to invoke that he or she is entitled to the property acquired during the cohabitation, he or she has to provide proof. Let it be noted also that under this provision, the wages and salaries earned by each party exclusively belongs to the party who is earning or generating this one. There is no presumption as to the share or equal share of the parties under this under the cohabitation.
Oh, I see. So even if you're just cohabitating with a Filipina, then you're not protected. There's a presumption that the Filipina is entitled 50% of the asset during the cohabitation. But how can a foreigner protect himself? Does he have to keep receipts, to prove that it's his money?
Actually, it's quite absurd to be keeping receipts, right? But
Yeah.
unfortunately, that's the only way to rebut the presumption. Remember, under 147 speaks of a presumption, and it's not conclusive because it's merely a presumption that can be rebutted. So if you're able to provide proof that the property that was acquired during the cohabitation came from your exclusive money from the states or from whatever source that the Filipina has nothing to do with, then you can exclusively prove to the court later on that that is your exclusive property and the Filipina has no share on the same. However, let it be noted again that the court may consider the contribution of the Filipina, the way she took care of the family, the effort she exerted in raising the children, as her partial contribution in acquiring the property. So the Filipina may be granted a value on the amount or the value of the property acquired during the cohabitation, but that depends on the discretion of the court now.
I see. But let's talk about the length of cohabitation. How long together? A year? 2 years? Does it start right away?
Well, it's very different in the West because there is a time frame that for the court to consider that you're cohabiting. In the Philippines, if you're living together as husband and wife, regardless of how long you've been living together, you automatically fall under Article 147 or under 148. You're cohabiting. because it is not our culture in the Philippines to be living together if you're just boyfriend or girlfriend. So
Oh no.
we don't consider the length of time before the court can declare you're cohabiting. As long as you live together as husband and wife, regardless of how short or how long you've been living together, definitely that's gonna be cohabitation under 147 or 148 of the family code.
Wait. So meaning even if you're just living together for about a month or even about a week, you're automatically considered like a common law spouse, because in our culture we're not allowed to live together if we're just boyfriend and girlfriend, right?
Correct. As long as the way you live together is you treat each other as husband and wife, or exclusively. There's a term here, exclusively with
Oh,
each other as husband and wife. So
exclusively. So
yeah, so there's already a hint for the Westerners, so he can be exempted from this provision if he keeps another Filipina in another house. So it's not gonna be exclusive anymore.
okay, so all right. So what if, yeah, so it's not exclusive. So this is not applicable if the foreigner has a second girlfriend in a different condo unit or something like that, because it's not exclusive.
Correct. This provision will not govern anymore.
Okay,
But the problem with that one is watch
so
out the families of either of the woman is gonna come after you. You might not be judicially sanctioned, but you will be sanctioned by the families of these women. Good luck to you.
I can't wait. I'm still absorbing this. So meaning, if they're cheating, they're not judicially sanctioned, but watch out. Yeah, I agree, because the Filipinas family can be vindictive in that department. So, okay, just to get it straight, regardless of how long you've been together, even just for weeks, months, years, as long as you're cohabitating, you're entitled to 50% of the assets during the cohabitation. So, guys, watch out. So, one last question, Gracie, does it matter? Does it matter though if they're just living together? What if friends with benefits, but they're cohabitating? Does it still apply?
If a Filipina wants to invoke 147 for her to be entitled to a portion of the property, of course she's gonna say to the court that we're living as husband and wife, even if we're just girlfriend or boyfriend, because we do what husband and wife does. So
Like what?
that is what
Like what,
considered
Gracie?
in court.
Did you husband and wife?
I did that one. From the very first day we were boyfriend and girlfriend, we did what husband and wife does.
Like mommies and daddies? Okay, so next question. Can you get a cohabitation agreement? Like if you're getting married, you're getting a prenup, but can you get a cohabitation agreement to protect your assets?
Unfortunately, no. We are not like the West, wherein cohabitation agreement is valid. In the Philippines, there's no such thing as cohabitation agreement. We have a prenup agreement, but let it be noted that a prenup agreement becomes void if the marriage is not consummated, meaning there was no marriage at all. That cannot constitute a cohabitation agreement. Because in the first place, there's no such thing as cohabitation agreement in the Philippines.
I don't think it's going to be a problem with the Filipina not consummating the marriage, because I guess before even they get married, they consummated the marriage already. Don't you agree?
I'm referring to the legal consummation of marriage.
Okay, now it's clear. So anyway, with that said, it sounds like you're more protected when you're married than you're just cohabitating, because the prenup will stand, right? Because there's no cohabitation agreement.
Yeah, that's what I see in our laws actually. Like let's it's more favorable to get married because you can get more protection with respect to execution of prenup agreement and whatsoever.
To sum it up, guys are more protected if they get married than just cohabitating.
Yeah, if your intention is not to marry your partner but merely to just cohabit. Because remember Article 147 and Article 148 under the Family Code of the Philippines.
Right. So if you don't, yeah, it's always a gamble, basically. But if you're cohabitating with a Filipina and you're broken up, and then there's this, the Filipina can file, you changed her lifestyle. What was that law, Gracie?
Yeah, because if you have made the Filipina dependent on your financial support, then you suddenly stop providing her support and kick her out of the house, then she can or she may invoke by 9262.
Oh, so what if it's not a healthy, it's not a mutual breakup, and you just suddenly kicked her out, changed the locks of your house, then she can go ballistic and use that law against the foreigner?
Yes, unfortunately. Because again, I tell you, in the Philippines, it's not our culture to be living as husband and wife without the benefit of marriage. So there's repercussion on being together without the benefit of marriage. It's okay to just be girlfriend boyfriend and still go home to your respective houses, but once you live together, there's a number of things that you have to consider, and of course there's some risk to that to that kind of setup.
Right. Yeah. Guys, I'm not trying to scare you away, but it's better to know what laws that will, for you guys to avoid those pitfalls. And also, I don't think there are a lot of cases which, the Filipinas will go to that extent to, even if it wasn't a mutual breakup, because we have this saving face, or we have our dignity. I don't think we'll go through that hassle to file a case to a guy because we've been kicked out. I know there are some, but I don't think it's saturated. I don't think most Filipinas will do that. I think they'll just,
Yeah. The ones that I've come across with are those that have been abused by their partners.
Okay. And just to be clear as well, guys, this is not only applicable to mixed couples. This is not only against foreign guys. This is applicable both for Filipinos as well, right? To anyone who's cohabitating here in the Philippines. This is not geared towards the foreigners, because obviously if you're cohabitating with a Filipino, this applies to them too, right?
Yeah, but you've observed, P, that it's not common for both Filipinos to be cohabiting. It's very, very rare. And if they are cohabiting, most probably they've been girlfriend and boyfriends for years, right? Before they decide to cohabit. That's what I've observed from Filipinos. But unlike Westerner, when they come and visit the Philippines, after a day or two meeting their Filipinas, they would invite their Filipinas to live with them.
I know. So what's the rush? Come on, get to know each other first. And I know.
I'm actually guilty of the same. I did the same too with my husband.
Okay. You're guilty. Okay.
So it's after a week, he followed me to Manila where I need to work there. So
okay, so at least it's after a week, guys. Don't at least after a week, not after a day.
No, it's after 2 weeks.
After
February 14.
What a lucky guy. All right, Gracie, let's talk about the divorce bill. What's up with that?
Oh, yeah. To make it clear, we still don't have divorce in the Philippines. What has been approved, was only the bill, and the same as what was only approved by the committee in Congress with that studied and drafted the bill. So it's not even approved yet in Congress. It will still undergo the scrutiny of our congressmen.
So Gracie, about this proposed divorce bill, is it like the West? Like, oh, I want a divorce because I want half of his assets. Does it work that way?
Definitely, it's not going to be like the divorce law in the West. What I've read so far as to the possible content of the bill is that it's going to incorporate the grounds for legal separation, for the annulment, and there's gonna be criteria that's not available in the West. Let's say criteria of being separated for at least 5 years before one is entitled or is allowed to file for divorce. So those kinds of criteria that will definitely not make our divorce law similar to the West.
Okay. So you can't just wake up the next morning and say, I want a divorce because I just feel like we're not compatible. So it's not like the West. But I just want to also make this point that here in the Philippines, there are a lot of toxic relationships. And I think one of the reasons why they're proposing this bill so that some of the women and also men who are not happy in the relationship, if it's really abusive, then they have a way out, right?
Correct. The main intention of this bill is to give second chance to those who have been separated for at least 5 years, probably. So it's time for them to move on. So this is the intention of the bill. It's not something like in the West, okay, I got married today and then anyway, next week I can file for divorce and it's easy to do the divorce because it's just gonna take weeks or months. I don't think that's gonna be how fast our divorce will be later on, because it's definitely be in court and court proceedings are definitely not as fast as how it is done in the West.
I just want to also make to reiterate that I don't want to scare away our Western friends coming here to have a traditional family unit. It's not like in the West that it's the divorce there is more on, just getting the assets of the men, and that's most of the time it's like an insurance policy for the women. Here it's more of a second chance for, like, for instance, some of the women here over 35 who are previously married and they're no longer with their husbands, and then obviously they are in a relationship with someone else, then they can't remarry because they're still married in paper, and also they're at risk of being sued because it's a crime to be in a relationship with a married woman, right? Married woman and man.
Correct.
In your personal opinion, Gracie, are you okay with the divorce bill? Are you voting yes for the divorce bill?
It would all depend on the content of that divorce bill, because definitely I'm not gonna vote if the divorce law is gonna be similar to the one in the West. There has to be a strict criteria as to who can qualify for filing a divorce. Like, let's say there has to be sufficient enough or amount of time that they've been separated, and there has to be sufficient ground to invoke the divorce law. Let's say one partner is very abusive to the other, and being abusive is not a ground for annulment here. It's just a ground of legal separation, which doesn't sever the marriage ties of the spouses. So that could be a good ground for divorce. And let's say another ground for which the divorce bill is also contemplating is when the other spouse has undergone a reassignment or change of gender. Because right now, that's not a ground for annulment. So it's kind of unfair to the other partner to be continuously married to someone who suddenly just changed.
Okay, well, at least, yeah, because me personally, divorce is okay, but it shouldn't be misused. It shouldn't be weaponized against destroying a family unit, not just because you wanted to accumulate assets. It should be a strict, there should be like strict guidelines who can qualify to file for divorce. Let's say, I don't know, who cheats. If you cheat, then you shouldn't qualify getting half of his assets. I mean, morally, morally speaking, at least we can say the Philippines will remain family
oriented.
Yes, family oriented and traditional family unit still. All right, to summarize what we've talked about, if you're cohabitating, you need to keep receipts of the things you purchase while you're together to protect yourself. But there's no such thing as cohabitation prenup. So guys, you have to be careful, right, Gracie?
Correct.
Okay, so it's actually safer to get married. What are the chances of that? And execute a valid prenuptial agreement, which is ironclad, right?
Correct.
Okay, so well, that way you can protect everything, even your pensions, unlike in the West. So guys, please, prenup. All right, so for any of you guys that want to contact Gracie, I'll leave her contact information in the description box, guys. Please, if you're watching the video, there's like a drop down there. You can see everything in the description box, because I've been asked a million times about Gracie's information. I always include it there in the description box. But obviously, guys, I'll be happy to send it to you in the comment section as well if you ask, but it'll be easier for you to find the information in the description box. So Gracie can still do online consultations, and please do not hesitate to send her an email. Just be patient, but she'll get back to you for sure. Anyway, guys, yeah, as soon as she can. So okay. Anyway, guys, please protect yourself again legally, and you'll be fine. But if you need any help, there's Gracie to the rescue. So Gracie, thank you so much for your time today. It was really great to see you, and I know my audience really appreciates your time and wisdom, and I hope to do this again and soon, hopefully.
The pleasure is mine, P, and I'm glad I'm able to provide legal advice to those who need it, or even to those who may need it later on when they decide to come to the Philippines and meet a Filipina.
Right. So guys, again, her contact info is in the description box, and I'll see you again in just a few days with something new for you to consider. So till next time, folks. Bye. Bye, Gracie.
Bye, Bee.
If you think about it, I'm kind of like Pocahontas, who bridged the gap between two very different cultures and tried to bring peace and understanding to both sides, while at the same time, dating a foreigner. All that I ask for my diplomatic efforts is that you like this video, subscribe to my channel, and hit the notification bell. And while you're here, check out some of my other videos too. And no, you can't poke my Hontas.